Welcome back to the channel where we'll be discussing something different, something other than Barcelona, something other than just general football. And we still have a couple of days left of the international break, the final one until March, thankfully. But recently I was in a Twitter discussion, I think it was in a group chat, where they were talking about like the recent four World Cups, so 2010, 2014, 2018, 2022. And those four World Cups align perfectly with my life because those are the only World Cups that I've actually witnessed. Any ones before those, I was too young to even know they existed. And they were discussing like which of these four World Cups had the best vibes, the best environment, the best entertainment. And I'm not necessarily going to rank them today because that would be very difficult, especially as we go on to the video explaining why it would be difficult. Um, but we could start with eliminating 2018. The Russia World Cup in 2018 was just weird when it came to entertainment wise, when it came to vibes wise, so to say. And don't get me wrong, there were some great games in that tournament. Belgium against Brazil was a great game, and I think Brazil deserved to win that game, but that was a great game. Argentina, France, you had. Portugal, Spain was an unbelievable game. And Belgium, Japan, for example, that was an unreal game as well. So you had great games in that tournament. But there was something off about the stadium, the stadiums, the environment in Russia. And it's not against Russia what I'm saying here, just like the environment just felt off, especially compared to the three World Cups around that one. And what was interesting was in that World Cup, you had a lot of legendary players in their prime. Ronaldo, Messi in 2018, Hazard, you had Neymar. Even, for example, you had players like Diego Costa for Spain. Iniesta was there for his final World Cup. Isco was unreal. So you had a lot of very legendary, very high status players when it comes to the recent footballing era. And you can see probably the golden era of football in their peaks or just playing at a very high level. So the players were great, were very good. The teams were actually pretty decent, and there was a lot of good games. But like I said, there's something off about the environment in Russia. And when we go on to talk about 2010 World Cup, there was just something different. The 2010 World Cup. This was obviously the South African World Cup, and I'm not sure, but it might have been the only World Cup ever hosted in Africa. And when you think of that World Cup, you think of the Jabulani, of course, that ball. I think it was like the perfectly round ball, and like for that reason, it would bounce a lot. The keepers couldn't clock where it was gonna go. They couldn't handle it. It was difficult to control, and there was a lot of goals, a lot of bangers from that. You think of Diego Forlan, you think of Xavi Hernandez, who was insane in that tournament. You think of Casillas' save against Robben. You think about Messi for his standards wasn't insane in that tournament, but Messi for the way he played was unbelievable in that tournament. He didn't score a goal, but his performance was unreal. He was electric. You think of Messi in Argentina, managed by Diego Maradona, and it was just another era of football. That was the peak of the era of the sport right before the 2018 World Cup. Because in that era, you had Iniesta in his prime, even though 2018 was his final World Cup. Iniesta in his prime, Xavi in his prime. It was a different era of complete legends. And you think of the horns in the stadium. I think it was called the vuvuzelas, the vuvuzelas, whatever those were called. And it was a first World Cup that had extreme mainstream coverage. You had Shakira with PK, that whole entire thing. You had Shakira creating songs. There was a lot of songs created for that World Cup. It was like the first mainstream one where the media was heavily involved. You had Maicon, if you guys remember him from Brazil. Maicon played a huge role. People remember him from that World Cup. You remember Waka Waka waving flag. So it was a very entertaining World Cup. Very high vibes, and considering the media coverage, considering it was the first ever World Cup held in Africa, you felt the environment, you felt it, and South Africans didn't let down. Chabalala's goal in that first game was absolutely electric, and that literally set the tone for the rest of the World Cup. So I would definitely say vibes-wise, it was definitely higher than 2018. And like I said before, that 2018 would be eliminated for vibes-wise. There was just something off about that tournament. But if you go now to 2014 World Cup, the 2014 World Cup is pretty self-explanatory because when you're going to host a World Cup in a country like Brazil is a country that lives, breathes, and breeds football. the biggest legends you've ever heard of, the biggest legends you've ever seen in the sport have come from that country, other than Argentinian players. R9, Dino, Rivaldo, Neymar, Pele, Garrincha, Rivaldo, I'm not Rivaldo, Jarzinho, uh, Zico, Rivellini, all these players. You had Dani Alves, Cafu, Lucio, Marcelo. All these players have come from that country, and that country breeds football. They create football. Doesn't matter about the state of the state of the favelas. Doesn't matter the state of the country economically. They breed football. And when you go to Brazil, you feel the football. So when you host a World Cup in a country that radiates football, it's only always going to happen that the vibes of the World Cup are going to be extremely high. And the time of the games for that World Cup, I remember watching games at like 1 p.m., like 10 a.m. It was great. It was just like you wake up in the morning. It was summertime. It's warm outside, and it's just straight football all day. And you could feel the vibes. It was Neymar's breakthrough in the World Cup. Brazil had it going great until he got injured, and then they got scraped by Germany. Messi was unreal, and it was the start of that Belgian golden era, so to say. De Bruyne was there, Hazard was there, Lukaku was there, and they made it to the quarterfinal just to lose to Argentina. You had that group of death, quote unquote, with Portugal, Ghana, USA, and Germany. That was a great group. USA managed to make it through. You had that Tim Howard performance against Belgium in the round of 16 before they ended up losing, and you could feel the Brazilian air in the stadiums. You could feel it. You could feel the football, so to say, and you could just that tournament was just great. Of course, personally, it would have been wonderful to see Messi win that tournament, and that was the most upset I've been as a Barcelona as a football fan. That was the first time I was truly upset as a fan of the sport and supporting Messi Barcelona. But on taking that away, that World Cup was just great, great, great. And if you go on now, this is gonna be a bit of a shorter video. If you go on now to the last World Cup, 2022 Qatar. Now, of course, we're in 2024. That was in 2022. It was held in the Eastern world in Qatar, and that you're always gonna have people cry about that because the West, people on the left, will always cry about something. And the reason why I like that World Cup a lot, other than Messi and Argentina winning it, was, like I said, people on the left were crying. But what was great about that World Cup was you could feel the environment and you could feel everyone together because you had all the stadiums within like a 30-minute to 1 hour distance within each other. So everyone was close, everyone was compact. The Lusail, you had 30 minutes away from the next stadium and 30 minutes away from the next stadium. Everyone was close, like I said. You could feel everybody. You could feel the Qatar did a great job of setting the country up specifically for this World Cup. All the cities you had, Doha was great. You had people who would go to Dubai and in the UAE, and then they'd go to Qatar with a 1-day trip. They created a system like that where they would go to Qatar for a 1-day trip if they were in any neighboring countries, watch a game they had to watch, experience Qatar for a little bit, and then go back to where they came from. So it was a great way for Qatar to increase their influence in the sport, increase people in their region, in their interest in the sport. And like I said, the distance and the stadiums, the closeness. I think the music was great. Haya Haya, Dreamers, Arbo, the walkout song was a great song, and it was great because those songs not only gave like a World Cup feeling, but they also gave a Middle East, an Arab feeling. And you could like I said, you could feel the vibes of that World Cup. It was a great World Cup, Qatar. I think the games were great. Unfortunately, for this one specifically, the quality of the players decreased. You had Messi old. You had Neymar there, who was very good, to be honest, until he got like a 1 game or 2 game injury. Then he came back and performed greatly versus Croatia. Unfortunate not to win that game, but it was nothing crazy, to be honest. You had Pedri. Spain played well, but it was nothing crazy. Like in 2018, you had Messi, Ronaldo in the prime, Iniesta. You had great players. Now you don't really have that. You didn't really have that, and even now, it's still the case until we'll see what Lamine Yamal can do, what these next upcoming youngsters can do. I don't think they'll get close to anything the last 10, 15, 20 years of football came to, but still, I think the Argentinian fans, the Moroccan fans, they They were there in masses, in numbers, supporting their nations. You could feel them. You could feel like if you're watching an Argentina game or a Morocco game on your TV, you could feel the Argentinian fans. You could hear that. You could feel the Moroccan fans. So it was just a great environment. I was supposed to go to that Argentina versus Croatia game. I didn't. I ended up not going, unfortunately, for other reasons. But still, and the thing with these World Cups or World Cups in general is that even when you're not there, you can feel the environment. Just watching the game on TV. Obviously, it's not exactly you're feeling everything, but you can see like the gist of how it feels over there, and just the gist is enough to know the vibes of that World Cup. And I think this is why the World Cup is the most prestigious award trophy tournament in sports history, other than the Olympics. Even though I think that's starting to die down a little bit, the Olympics was more renowned, more respected, I guess. In the 1900s, 1800s. Now it's so definitely massive. People compete. Gold medals are so massive. But when it comes to sports like football, it's like nah. The main sports like basketball, football, whatever you have, tennis. You have their main competitions that happen in their sport, not really in the Olympics. But yeah, let me know what you guys think. I just wanted to make this video real quick to pass some time during this international break. I just hate the international break. It's so boring. You have some decent games, but it's nothing crazy. Barca should be coming back soon. UCL should be coming back soon. Let's see if they can maintain their form. Hopefully they do. Like I said, let me know what you guys think, and I'll see you in the next video.